could turn on your cameras if you are in attendance. That would be awesome. Just so everyone knows, we are recording, of course. I think everyone probably got a notification just now. And just a couple of quick little items here. If everyone's comfortable, I've got two screens going so that I can kind of cover off as many hands as possible. However, I would like to delegate who wants to be my helper today. Lana looks way too relaxed. Garry Raab's looking pretty good there. He's pretty comfy. So Raab, if you could be a monitor of people in order putting up their hands, and Mr. Marconi, if you could be my other monitor.
Yeehaw. Period.
So you guys are going to be looking for the hands, people waiting to talk. So I will, as the meeting progresses, call out the order. If I see Lana, Ruth, and Jackie, I will say it's Lana, Ruth, and Jackie. And then as more people fall in, if I miss someone, you guys can cut me off and say, no, it was this guy first. So we're going to do that. Are you guys cool with that, Gary and Brian?
Only problem is I only see 5 people on the screen.
Yeah.
That's all I can get.
Oh, you can't do a scroll?
Oh, hey.
Yeah, there you go. So,
damn it. Yeah. You had to show me that, eh?
You got to keep on scrolling. So I've got 2 computers going. So I'll probably catch most everyone, but if by chance I don't, then you guys can just stop me and feel free to just butt in.
Distracting.
On another note, guys, I just want to recognize Mayor Bill Robertson's passing. Of course, the Okotoks, great guy. You know, we all knew him. His memorial is Saturday, so definitely try and put some time aside to get out to that if you can. I'm probably going to be hard pressed, but I'll definitely be making time and effort for that. He was a great guy. So I think it's at the Payson Arena. There's details on the website, so check it out if you're going to go. And that's about it. So if anyone else has anything else outside of the agenda, I'm going to ask for additions in a second, but anything else anyone wanted to touch on very quickly or briefly? Okay, good. So as well, when I call for an all in favor, you're going to raise your hand, hold it there for 3 seconds. The video is recording. I'll then ask for those opposed. Same thing, hold it up for 3 seconds, and away you go. If you don't want to put on your camera because you're in your pajamas, then wait and hit the mic and say aye or nay. It's very simple. Okay, so thank you for attending today, July 14th, the JFAC meeting. Opened up at 6 p.m. I'm looking for additions to agenda. And I am scrolling now, and I am seeing none thus far. I did want to touch base on one thing, and that is the timeline for debate and consideration of the application for the August meeting, moving into September for the letter to be in front of council. So in order for that to happen, it's a discussion obviously we need to have tonight, but we should be looking at August having the entirety of everything we've achieved on the application, the 32 points that we've nailed down thus far in front of us, so that we can move that and have it ready to go to councils in September. So we'll add that as, we'll add it under new business 7.2. We'll just call that letter review submission. How's that sound? Or not letter, but application. Application review submission. 7.2. Okay. Anyone else had any thoughts on anything we needed to touch base on? I noticed Black Diamond, you guys got a redevelopment Downtown Redevelopment Committee, you're getting formed up, so that's pretty awesome. Maybe we can get an update on that later. That'd be cool. Garry, Mr. Raab.
Yeah, thanks. There's a hand up at the BD office. I assume it might be Ruth, but I can't quite see.
Oh, look. Oh, she's little tiny in the background. Yes, Ruth, yeah. Go ahead.
Barry, can I make a recommendation with regards to item number 7 that we reverse the order? 7.2 be 7.1. Can I make that request, please?
To put it in front of the August in-person event?
The discussion of the in-person engagement event in August, yes, please.
Okay, sure. So we'll just reverse that, sure. Okay. And yeah, you blend in well with the wall there, Ruth. So you're going to have to go with some vigorous arm shaking, maybe even a two-hander at times. Okay. All right, sounds good. Can I get an approval of the agenda for 3.1, please? Jackie, I'll take that motion.
I'll give you that motion, but how many people are actually here to vote for you?
Today we have, I'm seeing 5 times 4 is 20 plus admin. So councillors only, who are we missing?
Jamie. Missing Daryl and
Wilkie.
And Wilkie, yes.
Just looking again. Is that it? If you're not here, speak up. Sharon, come on. That was gold. If you're not here, speak up. No? Okay. So Wilkie is out and Daryl is out. So our numbers, this is how I do it. Boom. If we've got 12, then 10 it is. I got it pasted to the back of my iPad. Yeah. So there's our, yeah, got to flip it over, right? So 12 members, so 10 to carry a vote.
Okay.
All right.
I'll give you that motion to accept the amended agenda as presented.
All righty. And any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. All opposed, Mr. Waring? You're good. All right. Excellent. All right, we're good there. Minutes adoption for the June 23rd meeting. Could I get a motion for that, please? Lana, Councillor Hamilton. She makes motion for adoption of minutes. Any errors or omissions? Anyone have a look at them? Check them over. All good. 3, 2, 1. Seeing none. All in favor of the adoption of the minutes for June 23rd? Hands up high. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Delegations, we have none. Excellent. Old business, we have none. I could go on about old business all day, but I'm getting sick of working, so we won't go there. I need to win the lottery. New business, we will go to 7.1, which is now reversed, is the review, the application review for submission. So since I brought it to the table, I'll start it off. What I was thinking needs to happen. And this is kind of just more of a open discussion on the timeline, really. So here we are, July 14th. We've essentially finished all our mandatory. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Lauren or Stephanie. So I'm just going to get it out there and then we can play with it after. So we've essentially got our mandatories covered. We're into the review stages, the last 2 public engagement events, checking those boxes. We've got 32, I believe, criterias that are check marked and chosen. This is the direction we want to go. So in order for that application to hit our September meetings, we should have a review session prior to. Now, where we have a hiccup here is we're going to have our August in-person public event. So that timing would need to make sure that we have that event before the JFAC meeting. I see you, Ruth. So that's going to be one part of this discussion, is the timing of the public event versus the JFAC meeting, which would be scheduled for the 18th of August if we're still sticking to the third Wednesday of each month. So we'll see if that works out. But that should be a full review for councils at JFAC to look at the application and decide, okay, are we happy bringing this towards councils? Am I off base here or not? We'll go Stephanie first, and then we're going to go to you, Ruth.
Thanks, Mayor Crane. Okay, so in terms of timelines, in terms of what we had anticipated, we did set an update in June 10th when that JFAC meeting was delayed until later in the month with a timeline. And so you'll have seen from that, it's not set in stone, but that's when we did provide these dates based on the engagement happening in the online session at the end of June, the what we heard reports that need to be developed, review by municipal affairs, as well as all CAOs and staff. That draft then can be ready for what we had proposed was the final Wednesday of August, which is the 25th. Okay. So that there's review time. You have to ensure that this document is provided into the agenda package on time so that all council and all public can review it and attend and participate as needed at the event. That still allows you then to have your dates in September as your individual councils to review the document and to make your decision one way or another, and then provide the certificate so it can be in still really gunning for September 15th, although that might be quite close, but certainly by the end of September submission to municipal affairs. So that's what we were anticipating. And that was the content set out in that timeline and the rationale for those pieces. But I have just reached out to the CAOs, I think late last week or early this week, just to ensure that that date would actually work.
Yes. Thank you for that update. Okay, I'm going to go to Ruth to start.
Very Ruth. Recommendation that we go into closed session at this time to further discuss what has been identified as a decision that seems to have been made without the prior consultation of JFAC.
It's not a decision, hasn't been made at all. This is an open discussion about timelines of reviewing and looking at applications to see if we're satisfied or if there's more work that we want to see done as a group.
You stipulated that we have an in-person event. You stated the 18th of August. Did I hear that correctly?
No, you did not. What I stated was we have an in-person event taking place in August. We have no idea what the date is yet. If we were to stick to the original agreement that JFAC would meet every third Wednesday of the month, that would be August 18th, is all I was saying. Is that the date would be 18th would be a JFAC. However, as Stephanie just gave us an update, the proposed timeline that she sent out in June shows a August 25th meeting of JFAC to go over the application submission papers. Is that correct, Stephanie? Okay, so that's correct. So there's no, this is purely open. There's no need to go into close for any of this. This is just talking about the application. Are we satisfied with the content? Is there more that we think we need to do? And if we want to see that, we need to have that discussion. And that's not on this agenda, so it would have to be in August.
Okay, so you've stipulated a couple of times that we are looking at an in-person event of some kind. I have gone back and taken a look to see whether or not this was something that was agreed to by JFAC, whether or not this was something that was brought forward as a recommendation from the communications subcommittee. I've not found any reference whatsoever about that formally, other than a video that was posted 5 days ago on Facebook in which yourself, Barry, indicated that the towns of Black Diamond and Turner Valley would be hosting an in-person amalgamation discussion. So can you please reiterate for me when that actually happened? Because I don't have any notes about that whatsoever, Barry.
Okay, so Charlene, would you like to fill us in on that one, please?
Fill us in on the in-person meeting?
That's right.
There was a suggestion made that there would be a coffee meeting in August.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a suggestion made of that. No dates had been submitted.
Exactly. So what we're doing is the committee wanted to see an in-person event. The July 22nd wasn't going to happen for an in-person event. It's scheduled as a virtual. So in order to accommodate the populations, we are going to have an in-person in August. And that is the recommendation that was coming forward from the SCS committee. And that's it. So Maven and both CAOs had a big powwow about this. They sent out an email and notified us that this is the direction they want to go. There's a huge email stream on that one, with some people not happy that July 22nd isn't in person, thinking that there is enough time to actually have an in-person in that event. That is not the case. So therefore, to accommodate the public, August, at some point in August, we want to have an in-person event. Now, if we want to have that discussion and put it to a motion tonight to pick a date or debate whether it's valid or not, I'm totally open to that as well. The committee has indicated clearly that they want an in-person event, and the committee was tasked with and the powers of making that choice. So that's where we're at. So why don't we take it right from there? Why don't we look at dates that might work for an in-person event? Basically a coffee and counselor idea is what we would like to see, and we can go from there. Charlene, your hand's up, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask a question of clarity. The agenda was changed to be able to facilitate a conversation around the review of the submission. If we need to set a meeting time for the review of the submission, which is different than what's in the project plan, I think for the purposes of following with the agenda and the minutes, we should probably go back to that conversation. The suggested date from the consultants based on the timeline is the 25th of August. Can we have that conversation?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so does anyone have a problem with August 25th, as Maven has proposed, for a review of the application? Jackie.
It's mostly a question. So does that mean that JFAC will get together and then we're going to, some days before the 25th of August, we will be provided with a copy of the negotiation application so that we have time to review it. And then as a group, we will go through it like kind of line by line. Is that the intention of the 25th of August?
That is correct. Stephanie, would you like to clarify that one?
Yes, absolutely. So the report would be provided in the agenda package to councillors and public on the date that you required, so the Friday before, at least. And in terms of the actual JFAC meeting, whether you want to go line by line, the intent, the outcome of that discussion is consideration by JFAC for moving forward into your individual councils or not.
Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
The only comment that I have about that is that we're pushing the line of the submission in September. I think if we have an in-person thing early in August, is there any way that we could move August 25th up a little bit earlier to give more time in case there are necessary changes or suggestions. I think that it's just making it really tight at the end.
Stephanie?
Some of this depends upon what you decide to do in terms of early August, but basically we can provide the draft in its form as soon as it's been through the review process. It's actually just first draft's been provided to CAOs based on what we know to date. And of course, it's always proposed at this point, right? So the section around any feedback from subsequent engagement events is not yet complete. So that's the part that we have to put in after those events are handled. But you know, if we wanted to, once it was ready to give you a precursor, I would check with the CEOs to make sure that that was reasonable. But yes, I understand that it feels like you'll have seen it at the very end. The thing is that it really does build up. So everything you've done, there's nothing new that goes into that report. It's all the decisions that you've made. It's all the documentation of the process. But you know, I certainly would be open to providing a draft version of it when it's closer to being complete and enable you to see it.
Okay, I think that would be great, because I think there's probably enough information in there that some of us would probably appreciate the time to go through it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jackie, for that. Mr. Raab, is that a hand up or just a thumb over? That's a hand, that's a thumb over, okay. Anybody else have any problems with August 25th? I may have a conflicting timeline. It could be, so if it could be a day earlier, I know I'm booked on a plane for Newfoundland. So we'll have to have a look at that and see when it might be. Well, it's usually a red eye, so I could be good. I could be right out of there and off to the airport type thing. So, but yeah, it's tight for me. Anybody else have a problem with August 25th? Then that looks good.
No, Barry, if you want to change it to a day earlier, that works better for me too.
How's that, Ms. Goodwin?
Yeah, I'm scheduled to be away that full time. I will make and accommodate for the 25th.
Okay, so 25th is good for you? That's a question. So the 25th is good for you?
Yes, Barry, it is.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we'll have to stick with the 25th here, Veronica, and just let her roll. Okay, so that's all good. So let's move on to, if everyone's comfortable, back to Ruth's question regarding a public open house / an in-person event, a coffee with council, the committee was talking about. So go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, Barry, I think we need a motion. I've got a question here from administration with regards to the 25th. Do we need a motion, sir?
No, it's already outlined in Stephanie's proposed timelines.
Okay, thank you very much for qualifying that, Barry.
Thank you. So August 25th, let's put it this way first. Does council, JFAC in general, want to have an in-person event in August? That would be the first question to ask and to answer. So can we get some thoughts around that? Quick, simple, I could ask for a vote, and if we've got a majority, then we can carry on with the conversation. If there's anyone who doesn't want to have an in-person event, why don't you speak up now? Councillor Waring?
What dates are we talking about in August? I'm away from the 13th to the 23rd.
Okay, we're going to get to that. Mayor Ruth?
Sorry. Yeah, no, I just have a couple of questions here, Barry, with regards to the decision that was made concerning an in-person. So I understand, and I haven't been able to find, is there any documentation from a formal subcommittee meeting that has arrived at this decision? Because I don't have any recommendation coming forward from the subcommittee.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion in a couple of seconds. 1 second. Councillor Waring?
When our committee first sat down to decide how public engagement was to be effected, we accepted, because of the restrictions of COVID, that likely it would all be viral. But in the event that the situation changed in COVID, the committee wanted the opportunity to look at doing a in-person get-together with the public. So we as a committee always had the idea that if we could do an in-public meeting, we would like to do it. And as long as we couldn't because of COVID, then it was out of the question.
Okay, I've got Hamilton.
Hi, Ruth. I'll give you a little bit of background that I've got in my email that maybe just came to the SCS committee. On the 5th of July, we got an email that there was going to be on when the second public input was going to take place. Oh, I've got some feedback here. I'll try again. Okay, that's better. 4 members, I believe, at that point requested that there be an in-person event with the COVID restrictions being lifted and the public's desire, what we felt to be the public's desire to have an in-person event for Q&A. We requested that Maven revisit maybe the approach. We then received an email on July 7th from our CAOs. I think it was, yeah, on behalf of Shawn and Charlene. And this was 2 recommendations: that we continue with the July 22nd virtual event, as we had already advertised for it and the public had already been made aware of that event. And then we add an additional in-person event in August. So that's where the recommendation, I believe, came from administration and their meeting with Maven. And I don't think there was ever a formal vote on it, but it was something that was requested by, I'm looking here now, 5 of the members on the SCS requested the in-person event.
Thank you for that background, Councillor Hamilton. We're going to go to Councillor Bain.
Yeah, very early on the morning of 7th, Mayor Crane specifically directed, Democratic vote says in person is the desire of councils. Please adjust accordingly. That was the direction that was given to either Maven or the CAOs. That, you missed that one in your synopsis, Lana. So, since 5 people had wanted the meeting to be in person, the mayor specifically directed, on behalf of both councils, apparently, because his email says the desire of councils, plural. So that was the direction that was given. Subsequent to that, rather than carrying out this direction, a meeting was held by, I assume, the CAOs and Maven, and they offered an alternative. Only 4 people supported that alternative. So whether it was a vote or not, I believe that it was considered as a vote. The CAO or Maven, I don't know who, decided that they felt that the feedback was more important than the direction of the mayor, and carried on planning for the virtual event. That's my understanding of what happened there. And it wasn't until Tuesday that I received any answer to my comments regarding the validity of the change to back to a virtual event followed by an in-person event. Our original, I believe, The engagement strategy, project meeting number 2 is to be in person if able. And I would suggest that in the middle of June, we were aware that restrictions were quite possibly going to be lifted. In fact, they'd been directed to be lifted on the 1st of July. So there was sufficient time to plan for an in-person event. That wasn't done. I'll just leave it at that right now.
Okay, thank you, Ted. All right, I've got Mayor Ruth's hand is up digitally. I'm assuming that's for you, Mayor Ruth.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, try again.
We're good? Okay.
Yeah, you're good. There you go.
Thanks. So Barry, my concern is this. I did not know that an announcement had been made on behalf of JFAC and the town of Black Diamond that an in-person consultation process would be taking place sometime in August. That came as a result, as a phone call from a resident who wanted to know more details. So I was guided to the video and the point in which that announcement was made. Being one of the spokespeople for JFAC, as well as being designated the only spokesperson for council and on behalf of council in the town of Black Diamond, I am dismayed by the fact that I wasn't informed or consulted at any time during these discussions. So can I have some follow-up, please, as to why that announcement was made without any consultation via JFAC or myself?
Sure, absolutely. So that was as simple as a very innocent Facebook Live post in which I was updating the community of upcoming events, July 22nd being one of them. As I just had read the update emails from the councillors, as you just heard, I included that in part of my update. So that's a bit of me jumping the gun. So I apologize to all of council, both Turner Valley and Black Diamond and administration, for maybe jumping ahead of the gun on my enthusiasm to engage the public in an in-person event. So that's a bad on me, and I'll take full ownership of that, no problem. That being said, I'll be very diligent next time on any announcements to make sure that it follows proper channels. That proper channel being this discussion, and it would be great if we could actually pick a date to do an in-person event. As I asked earlier, if there was anyone who didn't want to have this in-person event, speak up, and no one did. So again, I apologize to yourself, all of councils and administrations for being a little too robust in my vigor to get things happening. So any questions?
I appreciate the I have one more question on behalf of the town of Black Diamond when it comes to the discussion and overall consideration of the consultation and subcommittee. And I'd like to know what process you guys are recommending to notify the minister of our change of communication format, please. And the additional cost, because the town of Black Diamond has not budgeted for that. It was very clearly outlined in both the public information paper as well as the letter and the following documentation to the Minister of Municipal Affairs on January 20th, what we would be doing and how we would be doing that. So Barry, as a spokesperson then of the subcommittee, can you tell me how much this is going to cost in addition to what we have already committed? Who's going to document the conversations, especially if we're looking at a date prior to August 25th and be able to incorporate all of the discussions and feedback from the public before then? Thank you, Barry.
Yeah, I'll go to Councillor Hamilton.
Barry, I just kind of wanted to take the heat off you for a minute here, and I would look for that information from our CAOs or Maven, as that's where the recommendation came from. So that's where I would look. But I'd like to continue on here. If there is a concern that there is additional costs or that a third event is going to be cumbersome or not feasible, then I believe that the option still stands to just go to the second engagement and to do it via online means if going to a public forum is just too much to handle. I think that 36 minutes of conversation on this is enough for me for this evening. So I think that maybe we need to decide, are we going with one event or are we going with two, and we move forward. The idea to go with the third public event was to allow people the opportunity for the in-person that maybe now that COVID is over, that might be appreciated for people. We thought that just doing a online event wouldn't be received well, given that restrictions have been lifted. So I think at this point, we just need to make a decision and either move forward with that third event or just stick with the second event as already planned and advertised.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hamilton. Ms. Brown.
Background. Oh, go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. You're good now.
Good now. So just some information based on that. The idea of potentially having a drop-in coffee did come up throughout a CAO Maven conversations in efforts to be able to fulfill the desires, and we know that an in-person event is important to people. It's not only important to councils, but it's also important to the citizens, so that there is some sort of face-to-face kind of conversation. The challenge that we have, first of all, is it's summertime. Attendance on both councils and or administrations may be a little bit challenging. There is no support. I'm going to call it like there's not going to be a lot of support as far as documentation and putting things into a what we heard report. So that information is not going to be incorporated into the report, but what it does do is it gives an opportunity for the citizens to actually have a conversation with their councils about that and possibly some other issues, if those other issues do come up. At one point in time, the town of Black Diamond had what we called coffee and conversation. And those coffee and conversations were an informal event where citizens could just come in, have a chat with your councils and your council members. And we had it kind of scheduled up at that time. And we didn't have a lot of attendance, but it was a way for council and citizens to engage. And so this suggestion that I had made around the drop-in coffee thing would be an avenue to fulfill both purposes. So if council wants to, or JFAC wants to consider that, that might be something that we have. But I think that there's more to this whole conversation that we really need to get into. And when we go into the closed session, it might be an opportunity to explore that a little bit further. There's a number of different challenges, of course, like we talked about. But I think that we recognize, and the consultants, administration recognize the desire for everybody to have a face-to-face conversation with their constituents in regards to this and maybe some other issues. So I just wanted to say that.
Excellent, thank you. So can I get a motion for an in-person event in August from someone, please? And we can pick a date.
I will give you that motion that we have an in-person event in August.
Thank you, Councillor Gordon.
I would like to speak to that motion because it really seems like we've spent 39 minutes splitting some infinitesimally small hairs over this. So let's get her done.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Could you propose 3 dates, please, before you finish your motion? And preferably in the middle of the month, I think is going to be best. but we can have a little amendment, friendly amendment, once we start getting into some debate here on it to get a date locked down. So,
you know, why don't we, sir, I can make a motion that we host this in-person event during the week of August 16th to the 20th and give dates that administration can take a look at during that week that will fit their schedule.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It's open for debate. Thoughts, Jackie?
So if we wait until the week of the 16th to the 20th, I'm not sure exactly what Maven is going to put into the report before the 25th. So I'm thinking that's probably not sufficient time for Maven to do whatever they're going to do with the results of an in-person conversation. So I think it should be the week before.
I see what you're saying. Waring gives that a thumbs up. Okay, well, that's where the friendly amendment's going to come in, right? Where we're going to adjust it. Okay, I'm looking on the screen here for thoughts from councillors. Councillor Raab, sorry, I did miss you, and then Ted. Raab, then Ted.
Thank you. I'm kind of confused, I guess, by this. I thought the 25th was the day we're going to have our public participation. Now we're going the week before. So what am I missing here? But before I'll ask that question and leave that with you. You can get back to me in a minute here. But in the meantime, we spent 37 minutes debating what I think was, I think, Mayor Crane, you may have overstepped your traces and you realize that and you apologize for it. But I think it's everybody trying to do the right thing. We're trying to be involved. And we had two spokesmen for this particular event, Mayor Ruth and Mayor Crane. Okay. And yes, you maybe said more than you knew, but at the end of the day, you were talking about lots of other things, and it just kind of was an add-on. So I think we need to move on and try and focus on this agenda rather than getting bogged down the weeds here and sorting it out later.
Okay, thank you. So just to clarify for you, Councillor Raab, the 25th is the JFAC date meeting. What we're proposing here by Councillor Gordon's motion is the public coffee with council personal meeting for public to ask questions about amalgamation, what we heard, and for the public. So, so moving on from that, we have Councillor Bain.
Well, since the project meeting number 2 was to be held in person if we are able to do so, and since we're concerned about the cost of 2 meetings, we're concerned about the ability of having an in-person meeting on the 22nd of July. We want to have an in-person meeting. Why not have the in-person meeting in lieu of the virtual meeting sometime in August? There's enough time to plan. We are able to involve the public. Our charter says we should hold an in-person meeting if we're able to. I think that's a possibility for consideration.
Okay, thank you for proposing that. I got Mayor Ruth and then a Councillor Waring.
A cost, the additional cost to host this additional consultation with our public, please.
Ms. Gagnon, would you speak to that? Or are you comfortable letting us know? Or is it in the budget?
I would defer to CAO's all-around thoughts for the event.
Okay. Mr. Patience.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Crane. I don't believe there's a whole lot of cost involved with an in-person event. We're simply talking about some coffee and the use of our community hall. So I don't believe that's a big affair. There'll be some advertising online, etc. I think I also need to say that this was all done in an effort to try and meet everybody's ends. There was no real attempt to circumvent any process, etc. The virtual event was planned. The invites have been put in the mail. They're already well out there as of last week. So When the committee backed that up a little bit and said, look, we want an in-person event, we met to try and essentially try and make everybody happy and trying to achieve what everybody wanted. So this was really an effort to try and bring everybody's thought process together. We also felt an in-person event by July 22nd was still going to be very uncomfortable for a lot of people. I still have staff members wearing masks in the office, for instance. So while the restrictions may be off, that doesn't mean people's comfort levels are necessarily at 100%. And we wanted people to be able to be comfortable in attending an in-person event. So that's why we proposed an August event to try and mitigate the concern of the committee about having an in-person event. So I don't believe there's a whole lot of cost. We might be talking $100, $200. So it's not an extravagant affair. And I also want, from my own administrative perspective, to say, both to Councillor Bain and to Mayor Ruth, honestly, this was not an effort to circumvent process. It was really done in an effort to try and appease everybody and ensure that the public had an ample opportunity. If they were away on July 22nd, they could join us virtually. If they were uncomfortable at an in-person event, they could join us virtually. And hopefully by August, there would be a stronger comfort level with attending a drop-in type of a coffee affair as opposed to a large public forum. So I'm personally not too concerned about costs. We're talking some coffee, maybe some juice. Really, that's it. It's our hall, so there's no revenue issue, no cost issue with the hall. So really, I think this was done in an effort to try and achieve everybody's end and ensure that everybody had ample opportunity to participate. So that's really where I'm at. So there's not a lot of cost involved here, and it really is just an effort to ensure that anyone from the public that wants to have the opportunity would get that opportunity.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Patience. Mayor Ruth, your hand is still up, so I assume you're looking for the floor.
Yeah, thanks very much, Barry. Shawn, thanks very much for your explanation, and I appreciate that, and I do accept Barry's apology. I do understand that we are all very enthusiastic at trying to engage our public whenever we can and wherever we can. I do understand as well that the subcommittee, through emails versus a formal meeting, discussed the fact that it would be very important to a lot of individuals, and not a lot of individuals, it will be important to some of our stakeholders to have an in-person engagement. And I get that, and I appreciate that. My concern has been, as we work through this process with our consultants, we have been reminded that every change that we make and going through this and last minute changes, they do result in a cost. And my concern now, and I'd like to know, Barry, from our municipal affairs representatives, can we hold an event with regards to amalgamation and not support the discussions and I guess the feedback from that in-person event? My concern is that, and again, Shawn, you said that there's really not very much cost, but our experience so far has been every time we're recording our public consultation piece, there is a cost to that, and it's not small. Can municipal affairs, either Linda or Jeff, please speak to that?
Sure, thanks, Ruth. Linda, would you like to comment?
I'm not sure what I'm being asked, Barry. I think I'm asked, is there an additional cost? And I probably that is a response from the consultants. If you're having a public event, the Act says that you should give a summary of all the feedback. So I think those people attending the public meeting would anticipate. I'm not sure what that event is. I'm not sure what you're going to do at that event. Are those discussions for your group? What that event will include? Will it include gathering feedback, and who compiles that feedback? And I think that's what I'm being asked. Is there a cost to that? There probably is, but it's an answer that your CAOs and consultants can give, I believe. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. And Barry, my question directly to Municipal Affairs and Linda is, if we hold an in-person scheduled discussion with regards to amalgamation, whether or not the expectation from Municipal Affairs is that we include that in the application. And the response to the cost will have to come from our CAOs and Maven. So that's my direct question. If we have this open house, Linda, my question is, are we expected to record the discussions and any input that we receive during the open house?
I don't have the actual section of the legislation open, Ruth, but it does say that part of the report should include a summary of all the feedback. So I think you have to decide how you're going to do that from these events you're going to hold.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Charlene. She might have something to add there.
Yeah, so the summary of events from the feedback as approved in the public participation plan and the PIP document and the information that went to Municipal Affairs is the virtual sessions, both public number 1 in the What We Heard document and in number 2, which will update the What We Heard document. That will be as part of the report. Any additional events that will be held won't have time to be put into the report. This is the challenge that we've had, which is why we were sticking with the virtual event. So I think Stephanie made it really clear that we compile the information, we write the report, we write the What We Heard report, we send it off to MA for feedback, we bring it back, we review MA and the CAOs. Once we get that feedback and report, then it goes to individual councils for review, then it goes to JFAC, and we have to do all of that in a period of, what are we at now? Less than 30 days. So I would really like somebody very experienced in project management to explain how all of this occurs within that time period. I don't think that there's enough time to, and then that report has to go to individual councils for submission and get approved at a council table for submission to the minister by, I think, what's our deadline? September 18th, September 20th, September 15th.
Okay.
So obviously there's some project management challenges here that the CAOs have to address, which would be if there's a drop-in and coffee conversation, those items don't get put into the report. Like, I don't know how we can do that, especially if we do it at the end of August. I don't know how we can do that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holiday, I think, is up. And Waring. Sorry, Waring, I did forget you.
I'll give you an out because what I was going to say has been said, so I don't need to say it again.
Thank you. Okay, Holiday, you have the floor. No, can't hear a thing. No, not yet. Hit it with a hammer. No, nothing. Okay. Why don't you put your question into the text window, Cindy, in the meantime? And I have a thought that I'm going to run by. And it kind of goes in line with what Charlene's saying. So if our application is complete after 2 public engagement sessions, then does this one need to be part of the engagement itself? Or is this us doing our due diligence of getting into the one-on-one with the public? and giving them the chance to ask some questions one-on-one where they might want to. It doesn't necessarily have to be part of the application, because we've already done 2 public engagements that are well documented and recorded, all covering the bases. So this would just be for those people who want to get out face to face. So would that be a problem, Linda, if we had a third one that was separate from the actual engagement strategy itself? If we look at the box in which Maven has produced our layout, we're meeting all the criteria, we're covering all the bases. So could this event, let's just call it an event, not just be something that individual councils do that isn't needing to be recorded in the actual application? Linda.
Oh, thank you, Barry. This is your process, so you decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and it's up to you to, or the separate councils, if each council is going to have this in-person event, is to how they capture the feedback they get at that in-person event. They can always write separately. Capturing it in the application may be a time factor. I hear you. And yet maybe it could still be written down somewhere as a summary. That people are in support or not in support. I'm not sure how your in-person meeting can be very simple or it can be very intense. I'm not sure what your intention is. I haven't heard how you're going to design that event. I think that's what I'm saying, Barry.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go back to Councillor Holiday, and then I have Marconi. Nothing, Councillor Holiday. No. We'll go to Marconi. You keep trying.
I have a question for actually Linda. If we put in the application, can we add an amendment to it later? So we can include this third session if we have to, if we get some extremely good feedback.
I think you're talking about taking something to councils in September, if I've heard correctly, and what they look at and approve at that point is, my understanding is what's submitted to the minister. So this is a decision for you. Do you have time to put in something into that document that's reviewed by councils in September? If we don't, can we actually submit it later? As I said, as an amendment? My simple response is you can write to the minister at any time. But if you wish to write and give him further information, then of course you can do that. Yes. Okay, it's just an alternative. That's all we're looking for.
I think we're just beating a dead horse here. We've got 2 public engagement sessions. We've recorded all those questions, those answers. This is the event for the public to actually come out and see us if they're comfortable. That's all it is. So I like where you're going with that, Marconi. It can be an addendum that we can send later on, say, oh, by the way, we did some extra feedback, some extra public engagement. Here it is, Appendix C. Have a good day. I think it's as simple as that. And I don't think we need to beat it up anymore. But I will let Waring beat it up and Holiday beat it up if she wants. If she can ever get that thing to try it. Go ahead, Waring, you go first, and then Cindy will try.
I'm just supporting the proposal to move it a week earlier for the in August rather than the week that was suggested in the motion.
Okay, so 10 to 17.
Correct. 9 to 9
to 13 would be Monday and a Friday.
Yeah.
Correct. And I will accept that as a friendly amendment. So if administration can adjust the motion, that'd be ideal.
Okay, perfect. We're going to keep it broad and let the Survey Monkey solve it from there. Councillor Holiday, give it a go.
I don't know if this is working.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, good, because the phone number Stephanie just gave me were UBC and Church of the Session, so I'm going to have my next working. No, I'm a little lost on this whole conversation, but I mean, we're going to be 2 months prior to an election. What elected official here doesn't want a chance to sit and talk to members of the public. This can be such a simple coffee with council. We can address all sorts of other concerns. It doesn't have to just be amalgamation in my mind. I think just, we've done them before. They're fantastic. So I just think we need to stop overthinking it, have something simple. Amalgamation doesn't have to be the only thing. We can just have it a chance for us to connect with residents. It's been a long year.
Yeah. You know what? That's perfect. And with that, I'm going to ask for any other comments, and then I'm going to call the vote on the motion by Deputy Mayor Gordon. So Ted, you have the floor.
Yeah, I like Cindy's comment. It can also be part of a campaign strategy for people to sit down and talk to the public. So yeah, that has some potential.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So the motion, who is recording today? Can we have the motion read back? It's basically an in-person event. And I see Ruth's hand up there too. So Councillor Gordon, why don't you read us off your motion with the date, and then I'm going to go to Ruth.
Yep, sure thing. So the motion is quite simple, that we direct administration to arrange an in-person engagement event in August, preferably the second full week, August, what is that, the 9th through the 13th?
9th to 13th, yeah.
So that is my motion.
Perfect. Mr. Councillor Raab just indicated Wilkie did join the meeting. So Wilkie, I didn't really recognize you there, but welcome. You've been here for a half hour, I know. So our numbers did change for voting, and that is now still 10. Still 10. So there you go. All right, Mayor Ruth, finish us off.
Thanks very much, Bruno. Yeah, Barry, so I have a question with regards to the expectations of attendance, whether or not we would like our CAOs to attend, staff. And then I have another question.
To me, I don't care if staff attends. It's coffee with council, but they're more than welcome to. That would be my thought.
Mayor Crane, if I can interject there. I think the logistics can be dealt with later. Let's move on with the motion, please.
Yeah. Okay. Other question, Ruth?
Yeah, and my other question is this. With regards to maybe an ending to this public consultation, would the councils entertain a public in-person discussion or presentation, I guess is a better word for this, Barry, of the draft that both councils will be potentially looking at? So I'm wondering whether or not sometime in early September, with the draft that has been viewed by JFAC, with the expectation that it's going to councils, whether or not that might be something for consideration.
Councillor Waring. Thank you, Mayor Ruth.
One thing I'm confused on here, I thought we passed a bylaw that JPAC can make decisions on behalf of both councils. So I don't understand why it's going to both councils separate from JFAC. If we're talking about project managers, I've done a bit of that, so I've got some experience in that direction. But there's absolutely no need for it to go to both councils separately from JFAC.
No, we're pretty sure here, John, that the understanding is that the JFAC will review the draft and either say yay or nay to proceed, or whether or not the application is ready and ready to be submitted. And then it would go to each individual council to then approve it. That has been my understanding since September.
See, it seems like two lots of work to me. If JFAC approves it, then why it doesn't need to go to council?
Okay.
So could you respond to that?
Who? Sorry. Would you like to respond? Well, it's our TORs, right? But Linda, if you'd like to comment. Ruth, if you could repeat the question for her.
I think that
it was John.
Meg Crane, I am searching the MGA, but I do, and I haven't found it yet. As soon as you started discussing, I searched the MGA. But I do recall this, in this section, it does say that each council must pass a resolution, and the council cannot delegate that authority in the MGA to a committee. That has to be done by each individual council.
Perfect, thank you. There, that's to bed. Awesome, thank you, Erin. Thank you, Mayor Ruth. Now, back to the table at hand. In-person meeting, August 9th to 13th. All in favor? Hands high. 10 is the passing number. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is carried. All opposed? Okay, thank you, Mayor Ruth. Okay, that's carried. Moving on. 7.2 would be the, well, no, that kind of August in-person event, application submission and camera. We kind of just killed 2 birds with 1 stone, did we not? Right? It's all done now. Okay. In camera we go for our VoIP section. I can't remember, Councillor Raab?
I'll give you that motion to go on camera.
Thank you, sir. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, can we have the recording turned off, please? And we'll give 20 seconds for that. Why don't we do a rising? Oh, yeah. So thank you for that discussion, everyone. We're out of in camera now. We have no motions arising from in camera. Is that correct, Mr. Patience? Correct, okay. So with that, we're done. We need to talk about next meeting date just to firm it up to make sure, and then we can adjourn. So next meeting date, to be clear, is August 25th. Is that right? It is. Okay, August 25th is going to be the official date for our next JFAC, and we have some potential meetings that are going to happen in between that on an as-need basis as they pop up, and we'll have some more public engagement announcements coming up in the next few weeks once we get those nailed down dates and times via emails with all of council and staff. So that being said, thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight. And I don't see anyone with their hands up, so enjoy the weather. It's hot, stupid, sticky hot, but I'll take it over snow. So we're adjourned at 7:37.
Good night, everyone.
Enjoy your evening. Take care. We'll see you all around.